So tell me about resolutions. What's your buzz about resolutions?
It it felt silly that you're going to come up with this grand proclamation once a year at the beginning of the year, and you look around and you see most people don't follow through with the resolutions. um it felt like I wanted to say to myself, I want to make big decisions and take risks, and I want to do it more often, as opposed to waiting for a special holiday and do it once a year. So there's a million reasons why I was like, this just feels cheesy. And on top of it, I thought it was the most overrated holiday ever. So that being said, I have no problem dedicating a work ethic or passion to something. I just didn't need the fact that you needed to hype it up and call it a resolution or a New Year's resolution just automatically turned me off, where I was like, you're just putting so much expectations onto it. For me, it's just going to be another Tuesday. And then I realized, I'm trying to figure out where that's a little too cynical and what I can do with it. And I'll get into that. But
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that. I think people, I'm trying to think. I'd love to talk to somebody who does make resolutions every year and sticks to them. I think the trope is like the common theme is that, oh, you make resolutions and then you break them. I personally don't anymore. Don't make resolutions. I think I used to, but I think for me what it is like, if I'm making a big sweeping resolution, I'm trying to live in the results of having done that resolution. You know what I mean? If I'm like, I'm going to go to the gym every day, but I'm looking with a sort of a result in mind. And I don't think that's never really worked for me personally. So I think now the way I sort of approach my day-to-day life now for the past few years is I try and do little things every day. You know what I mean? That give me that sort of stack up and give me the life that I really enjoy. So in that sense, also specifics don't necessarily work for me either. Like I'd heard people for a while say, talk about vision boards. Oh, you should make a vision board. You should do this. You should do that. And I tried it, and I found that if I focus on a specific thing that I want, I get so caught up in the details of that it's not helpful to me. I just
real quick, I think that's a great point, and I just want to add, you're locked in, focused on one specific detail, and you might be blind to the other amazing things that could happen that you didn't see or foresee, and you're locked in on this one detail that you put on your vision board 5 years ago.
Yeah, and it takes me down a rabbit hole because I'm like, oh, this is my dream house, and I'll put up a picture of my dream house. But then I get caught up in the little details of it. Okay, well, I'll have to do that. Okay, if I have this house, well then I probably need a driveway that goes here. And literally, I'll get caught up in the mundane details of it, and then the benefit of it is lost.
I wonder how many of us really know what we actually want to do. Do we really know what that perfect life of ours is in 10 years? I would guess, because I don't trust that I know what I wanted to do in 5 years. I didn't even foresee what was going to happen with, creating this kind of stuff. I there's so many things that I don't even know what's at the other side of the rainbow.
Right, but I think when I try and predict how anything will go, or when I think about the future, or I am wrong 100% of the time. Because even if it's close to what I thought it might be, I'm still way wrong. So I think the idea of, I don't know. I'd love to talk to someone who has done vision boards very successfully, or who that kind of works for them. It just doesn't work for me. And another couple of things which I robbed from Emmett, or Emmett, sort of imparted to me, was like the idea of people wanting something but only seeing the lack of it. I want this house, or I want this life, or I want this job, but only seeing the lack of it, and then living in the kind of lack of that. I don't think that helps. And also the idea that it's okay to want things, but it's when you need them I think that's when it starts to get problematic. And he gave me this analogy. I was like, it's like if you have a big audacious goal, pick it like a destination, and then treat the journey like a GPS. Like assuming that you will get there. Just never doubt that you will get there, but just sort of the route's going to change and traffic will happen and you'll be rerouted, and would just be okay with all of that stuff. So, you know, I try and be okay. I try and live in that uncertainty now and enjoy it. So if I'm hyper focused on this outcome, I want this type of house, I'm sort of missing the journey along the way, you know. I'm kind of missing my day to day. So what I do now is I try and deal in feelings, and I try and cultivate those feelings every day. I don't want to sound too, this is not meant to sound preachy or hippie dippy in any way, but like I just, you know, I have a sort of a daily routine that I stick to now, that I haven't deviated from in a couple of years. Like I don't miss a day of this thing where I sort of do affirmations, and I'll do like meditation, I'll do some affirmations. I'll try and just generate that feeling every day so I can live in the feeling of, you know, compared to the amount of work that I'm putting in, the benefits far outweigh it. Like it's no problem. And the thing is, because it's rooted in feelings, I enjoy it. I look forward to it every day because I get to like feel great in the morning and go, oh, I get to sort of explore feeling like this every day. And that's enjoyable in and of itself. So it's not really about, I want this job, or I want this role, or I want this amount of money, or I want this house, or I want my life to look like this. It's kind of trusting that all of that stuff will happen in the right way at the right time, but just living in the sort of feeling of enjoyment of it, and the feeling, you know, I was saying to some people the other night on New Year's Eve, like it's the feeling of like you've already won, like there's no, don't worry about it, it's all a win. Everything, all the stuff you get to do is a win. You know, not I have to do this, but I get to do this.
Right. I'm not too far off of what that is. That also reminds me, it sounds very Atomic Habits by James Clear. The fact
I was
that
going to bring that up actually. Yeah,
okay, great. So you're aware of that too, where it's just small things repeated could make huge waves later down the road. But you were able to find a daily routine of these small things, and it was more the consistency of how much that impacted your life versus you know, a perfect resolution that you just popped out.
Absolutely, and it's not based on that. I did read that book more recently because I was kind of looking for, I was like, okay, well, how can I expand on this? I do this every day, and I don't know where this sort of routine stuff came from. It wasn't any one thing that said, oh, do this. Once I started to feel that way, I was like, well, I want to hang on to this. I want to cultivate this feeling. I don't want to, you know, once it, you know, I talked about it before, like it was a breakup and then things sort of changed for me, and I had this better sense of self and this sense of freedom and this sense of joy that I hadn't had. And but it became more about, okay, well, how can I feel this every day? Because this is what I want in my life, you know? And it wasn't about a specific outcome. I did read the James Clear book down the line, and it made sense. I didn't follow it per se, but the ideas of it make sense to me.
You found something without needing a result or putting pressure on it. I found my routine over years, and I just happened to do a few things literally almost every day for over years. Now, if you told me in the beginning, hey, you're going to do this one thing for 5 years, I would have been like, that's ridiculous. But for me, it's effortless because these are small things that I just start my day. I don't make it rocket science, you know what I mean? So I think there's something to be said, and that's kind of like what I was finding, that we made these great things, we added these things in our lives almost in a way by accident. I almost realized that last year, a little after the beginning of last year was almost the last time that I really drank. I didn't even realize that it's almost kind of a year. So, like, my point is for me, it wasn't like a grand decision. It was like, hey, this feels all right. Let me just kind of keep it doing. I know that obviously our stories are very different, but that's just one example of me falling into morning pages with Julie Cameron. I just was like, hey, this feels good in the morning. Let me just wake up and do these morning pages. You basically scribble gibberish pages every morning right when you wake up.
I do it too, and I found that really helpful. Yeah. Exactly.
So I think that's kind of something that I want to highlight because I feel like that's helpful for us to see similarities, the fact that, hey, this is kind of like what I was saying where, maybe great things that we add to our life don't need huge, perfect final expectations or result in mind.
It's all perspective really for me. Like my perspective can shift and I can get very negative and down on myself. Or my perspective can be amazing and I can feel grateful and I can feel connected and I can feel all this joy. It's really how I look at it. The circumstances don't change. It's just how I feel or how I choose to see it. And that is and I think it just takes repeated. It's daily work for me. You know what I mean? And I say work, like I enjoy it, but it is a daily application. So it does require some level of, I suppose, discipline.
Now, also the going back to the original thing, you're doing it daily, and you're not treating any day differently. Versus it's January 1st, and you feel a need to come up with a large arching, decision for your life or your year.
No, because that actively doesn't work for me because I've tried that and it doesn't work for me.
No. I realized my relationship with resolutions was actually kind of giving me a way out, and I didn't figure out how to make them work for me. If you told me that, say, Tony Robbins came up with a great exercise to make changes, or maybe we read something in Atomic Habits, if you told me any of those things, I very well could have given it a shot. But instead, it's wrapped up in a cheesy New Year resolution, and it was very easy for me to poo-poo it. The wrapping actually threw me off. I'm going to make a grand proclamation here. And I'm not going to call it resolution, but I'm going to make a grand proclamation.
More grandiose, no?
I know, right? For those who don't know this, my sister's an art teacher. I have tons of art supplies at my house. I have canvases never touched. I have an easel, a beautiful easel, never touched. I have not painted a drop in years, waiting for the perfect time. I'm going to use up all my paint this year. You could easily find a resolution online, say, hey, this year I want to paint a painting. And I feel like that's not going to work for me because the entire year I'm going to try to perfect that one painting. So I reframed it and I said, all the paint in my house that I got gifted to me, I'm going to use it. I'm going to use it with reckless abandon. I'm going to use it without expectations. It's not going to be the Mona Lisa. I literally am giving my permission to use up all my paint.
I think that's great. Can you use it in any way? Can you go to like a PETA protest and like throw it on a fur coat? Is that classed as
No. I actually, I don't think that counts.
Okay.
I think this is an opportunity where I was resisting and I wanted to figure it out and I needed to trick my brain. I'm not just, I feel like I'm like most average people where we think we're rational most of the time. And a lot of the time we might be living in fear of resistance. From our previous conversations, like the one that we talked about, like I decided out of a whim to start creating for YouTube and whatnot. I'm not interested in the 98% where I think I'm right. I'm more interested in the 2% I'm wrong. And I want to see where the other side of that is.
I love that. And I'm not particularly anti-resolutions. They just don't work for me. I think they're like by their nature a good thing.
I know that we're making resolutions sound grand. The New York Times did an editorial. They were saying, hey, this person happened to be really into resolutions. They gave tips. Make it measurable, make it realistic, and it's something that you want to do. Now, nobody... No, notice the thing that you and I were kind of calling out was the fact that it needed to be grand.
Sweeping.
Yeah, exactly. We projected a couple things on our idea of resolutions that there's a lot of people that couldn't venture into something using even just those 3 suggestions that maybe could work for them.
Actually, you're right. And I love that because I guess I did make one, but it wasn't related to New Year's. So I just made, I suppose, a resolution that I was going to do about exercise. Because I will, I'll go to the gym when I'm in LA, but sporadically. I don't have a program. It's kind of me motivating me. So I made a resolution that every day until I do this next job that I'm doing, I'm going to do this many push-ups and this many sit-ups and this many squats. So I just made like just every day. So that was because I don't exercise with any consistency. I do it very sporadically and sort of when the mood takes me and I'm a bit, I'll go tomorrow, or and I enjoy it when I do. I just I don't have that discipline instilled in me. I was never really a gym goer, so I was like, okay, well, here's something I can do every day until I do this next job. I'm gonna do this many push-ups or whatever, and it's not a ton, you know what I mean? I don't want to say how many because I don't want to embarrass everybody, and
Well, I was going to say, Reen didn't mention that this next job starts tomorrow, so it's actually just one day of working out, which I think is brilliant. That's a way of reframing it. You worked out for one day, and then now you're done.
Yeah. I just don't know the start date of the next one, so it could be a while.
Okay, there you go.
Just for me, it's just about doing a small amount every day. Like I read that was that the James Clear book where he talks about I won't go to the gym, but I'll just put on my shoes. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I was about to say that.
Yeah.
Make it ridiculously, almost silly, easy. Like instead of brushing your teeth every day, which I think most people probably should.
Ideally, you would.
Yeah. Brush half of your mouth every day, and then you're going to be like, well, that's just kind of ridiculous, and then you'll end up brushing your entire mouth.
Okay, so it's like going to the gym and doing 2 minutes. I'm only going to do 2 minutes, and then you're 2 minutes in, you're like, all right, I'll do,
Yeah. I don't want to sleep on this whole one. Something that you want to do. This is not something that you were guilted into doing, something that you actually want to do. Say, for example, I could have chose, I want to travel more. Okay, that's a good goal that most people have. It didn't spark the fire in me, or there wasn't enough danger in that. I'm actually going to Egypt in April.
What?
Literally going to Egypt. I know, literally Egypt. Nice. It just happened. I'm very fortunate. I won't say too much, but my sister started a foreign study program for her school. Guess who's going as a chaperone? Social media, videographer.
Nice. Who will you be chaperoning? How old are these high school kids?
High school kids.
Do not get them into trouble.
Yeah.
Don't lose anybody. Don't get anybody into trouble.
I know. So we don't know who's going to be watching over me. But that's besides the point. We'll figure that out. But my point is I could easily said, okay, everyone wants to travel more, and I wouldn't say this is a resolution. I'm going to travel more. It didn't spark any danger or fire in me. What sparks danger and fire in me is I'm going to use up all that paint. I don't know how it's going to do it, but I'm going to do it.
Thanks for watching, guys. If you like that clip, click here to see the full episode of The Actor's Guide to the End of the World. It's right there.